out in a red state trying to talk some sense. Always shoots it straight, he don't straddle no fence. A common man with a real plan, he's a friend to you and me. A long shot from the Lone Star, he's the voice that we need. Better vote like there's no tomorrow, 'cause friend, our future's on the line. We can't stay silent and we can't back down. We can't sit this one out this time. If you want a man who'll take a stand, talk straight and walk tall, it's time to ride or die and get behind old Texas Paul.
Evening, folks. Welcome to TNT with Texas Paul and Tennessee Brando. I am, of course, Texas Paul.
And I'm Tennessee Brando, and we're glad to be with you on this Wednesday. How you doing, Paul? You okay?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, man. I am doing wonderful. I heard you got some news for us about old Alex Jones.
We do, man. News just broke today that Alex Jones is now going to have to pay nearly $1 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims. And, I had a topic that I was going to talk on tonight. We'll probably get to that in a little bit. But when I heard that news, I had several people commenting and writing in saying, are you guys going to talk about that? And, I made a video on Twitter a while ago where I was talking about it. And I said, okay, I'm glad to hear that he's having to pay $1 billion. But, man, it'll never be enough for what he did. To me, I've never seen anyone stoop to a low like that. To prey upon the parents of, imagine losing your child in that manner. And then you've got a guy over here shouting it's a conspiracy, saying it's fake news. The pain he caused those people, I really don't think there's ever a price tag that could be high enough for him. And this comment here is a great one. We got here, the Ohio, Nancy Hayes says, Ohio, are you listening? J.D. Vance tweeted that Alex Jones is a better source of information than Rachel Maddow. Enough of this MAGA bullshit. But that's what the Republican Party has become. They are now the conspiracy theory party. Full blown, and they now just openly endorse it. Used to they were more quiet about it. They were more subtle, and it seems like over the years they've just became more. And now they're just embracing Alex Jones. Early on Trump was definitely leaning on the whole InfoWars crowd. But now he's just embracing it because I think Trump's backed in the corner at this point to where that's the only people that's going to listen to him at this point. No reasonable person is going to listen, so he has to go for this. But here it is. Alex Jones ordered to pay $965 million to Sandy Hook families. That's amazing. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, me too. I tell you what, I heard quite a bit about what. Right after that happened, I was so heartbroken, man. I remember President Obama just in tears talking about it. And then I couldn't believe that somebody was coming out and saying the things that he was saying. He can't be sued enough. They need to sue him till he can no longer do a show anymore. He is just as low as you can possibly be. Somebody, could you imagine? It would be bad enough to lose a child to cancer or to something like that, but to lose a child to violence, to know how terrified they were when they died and the pain. Could you imagine this dickhead causing you death threats?
Yeah. Well, Paul, I have 5 kids of my own, man, and a grandson. And there's been several times that at my kids' school over the years, they've had lockdowns. And when that moment happens and your child is in the middle of a lockdown, it's one of the most terrifying feelings you can have, because you're sitting there thinking, oh, God, are we going to be the next town that's going to be on the national news? That's what's going through your head. And so I know how it feels to just have those things happen. I can't imagine what it would feel like to have something like that be carried out and you're trying to deal with that. And then you got some lunatic over here spouting these conspiracy theories. It's like I've said before, years ago when I first heard the term conspiracy theory, it related to things like, JFK and the Gulf of Tonkin and different stuff like that. And we all see things and question things. There's definitely things we've seen in our lifetime that we've went, that looks a little fishy to me. But this guy just took conspiracy theories to a whole nother level of just insanity. And to prey upon, I can't imagine preying upon a parent in that moment. And he's actually, when you was talking about him, talking about Obama crying the tears, I remember that day very well, man, because it's actually the day that I proposed to my second wife. Me and my wife goes out, my second wife, we go out, and I
I bet you
proposed
wish
to.
you could take that back.
Oh, I know. And on that day, after I proposed to her, on that day, man, we go eat. And when we walk into the restaurant to eat after I proposed to her, Sandy Hook is breaking on the news. And I was like, wow,
Man.
that's the day it happened. And but I remember Obama crying the tears, and then someone like Alex Jones just making fun of it, mocking him for it. And it's one of those things that I never would have thought all those years ago when we first saw Alex Jones doing this. I never would have thought that it would have caught on that much with more of a mainstream audience, that mainstream politicians would be endorsing this guy, saying that he's a better source of information. It's really one of our worst nightmares come true. This guy used to just kind of over here silently in the corner, mouthing his bullshit, and he had some people following it. Every now and then you might pass a pickup truck in my parts that would have a little InfoWars bumper sticker. But now, it's something that mainstream politicians are now getting behind this guy. Even after something like today, you still have a guy saying that he's a more credible source. It's insanity. It really is.
Mrs. Texas Paul and I were doing one of our bucket list things a couple of years back, and we went to Alaska. And it was gorgeous, man. I mean, gorgeous. And we went to this little town called Talkeetna. It's a base camp for climbing up Mount McKinley. And it's a cool little town, man. It really is. I mean, there's, moose antlers on all the buildings. And it's just, I mean, cool as hell. And there's somebody set up a brewery there. And there's a dispensary there that I may or may not have visited. But it's just a cool little town, man. Mm-hmm. Everybody was so nice. And then we walk out of all freaking places, we walk out of the dispensary and bump into this other couple. And you know me, I'm super friendly. Mm-hmm. I am. I talk to everybody, and we ended up in a conversation. I don't, and I wonder if she remembers this, but we ended up in a conversation with them, and her husband went straight Alex Jones on me, just into a complete sales pitch about he found this guy that has the information. And I really, and gave me a bunch of different ways to find him. Oh, yeah. And I mean, this guy was just deep into it, and you could tell he didn't, I never looked like a blue dot, I don't. Yeah. But his wife had a hell of a lot better radar than he did. And his wife, come on, honey, come on. That's enough. Nobody wants to hear about that now. Come on, come on, come on. And, inside, man, my neck starts in your neck, where you start getting red, and then you can feel your face getting hot. And you can get, the shit this guy was saying, man, almost ruined my vacation. Oh, I never did see it. Never did see an Alaskan jail. Thank God. Yeah. But came that close.
Yeah, man, I've been in those kind of situations where, I met a guy one time, we were working together, super cool dude. We're sitting there talking about music, and we're talking about music, and we're right on the same page. We start talking about movies, we're right on the same page. We're having a real good conversation. I'm like, man, I'm really going to enjoy being around this dude. It'll make the day go by faster, having some good conversations. And then all of a sudden, like you said, he just starts quoting me some Alex Jones and telling me how Sandy Hook was a hoax. And had I seen this footage of these crisis actors, he starts telling me he'll send me links to this stuff. And I mean, I'm just being blunt here, man. When people start talking like that, my respect for them just starts dropping. As much as I may have enjoyed talking music with them, it's like, man, you can have some weird beliefs, Paul. I'm okay. If anybody out there has some strange beliefs or whatever, I'm open-minded. I've got friends from all different walks of life. But when you go down into that rabbit hole and start telling me that guy is, who I need to be listening to, that's when I'm going to start pulling back. I can't go down that rabbit hole with you.
I'm with you, man. I mean, I don't care what your like religious beliefs, man. I don't care who you pray
Yeah,
to. I don't
me either.
care where you're at. I don't care if you're Mormon. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're Sikh. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care
Yeah,
if you're Buddhist. I don't care, whether you're a
yeah,
Buddhist Christian or Buddhist Muslim or any combination thereof.
yeah,
You come at me with Alex Jones and you're a nut.
yeah,
I mean, I know there
yeah.
is no conversation that you and I are going to have that is going to be productive in any way, shape, or form. And you know what I can't figure out, man? What
What's
do they
that?
get out of it?
I've asked myself that a dozen times. I think it's tough, man, because I think people do have a major distrust of their government and a major distrust of the media, and so they go looking for answers that I think they want to appear to be smarter than you. They want to try to look like that they've researched something and looked into it. But really, what they do is they go clicking on headlines that already fits their own preconceived notion. It's not like in my mind they're looking for headlines that tells them what they want to hear, and they'll go looking for these things that now they'll tell you they have the answer to it, and it's just it's really sad. This comment here says, "I'm a country bumpkin, but I know bullshit when I hear it." We do too. Thanks for the comment, Carol. Um, yeah,
Carol's on fire tonight, ain't she?
yeah. But I think
Yeah.
people are looking for answers, and they have such a distrust of media, such a distrust of government, and they've also been taught that the words liberal and progressive are bad words. I'll never forget a conversation I had with another guy one time. It was a younger guy. We were working together, and he starts talking about politics, and I could tell I'm not trying to be condescending or arrogant here, but I could tell that this kid really didn't know what he was talking about. I could tell he was kind of clueless on the subject, but I was just letting him talk. And at one point, he actually said this, Paul. He said, and I don't really know what a liberal is. I just know I'm not supposed to like them. And I thought that's the problem. Like you've automatically, I mean, you've been taught that word is bad. And so if that word gets said, you're going to like, so if I look at you and say, hey, well, by the way, I'm a liberal, and then I proceed to tell you something, you're going to come at me with, well, I was taught not to like that. But he really didn't even know what one was. And so I actually said to him, I said, well, do you know what the word liberal is by definition? It's someone who is open-minded and willing to accept change. And he looked real confused, and he was like, well, yeah, I'm that. I was like, well, he's like, but and so he was completely confused. But I'll never forget that line when he said, I don't know what one is. I just know I'm not supposed to like it.
Like it.
And
Yep.
that's how people are taught,
And I don't know if you agree with me on this, but that's our fault. That's on us.
It is.
We spent too much time just letting them talk that ugly smack and trying to get by on our good ideas without saying, "Hey, you fuck nut." I mean, pardon my language, but right. I mean, it's our fault.
Yeah, it is our fault. There was a classic clip. It's actually pretty old. I don't know where you could find it, but I watched James Carville one time go off on this epic rant about how that we should have never let the word liberal slip away. And he started talking about all the accomplishments that liberals did. And he's like, if you want to call me a liberal, call me a liberal. And it's one of the best rants I ever heard. It just needs to be played from the rooftops because we let that word slip away from us, and we let them get control of the narrative and paint it with such a brush that it's taken a while to get back from. I'm sure people can tune into this podcast, see me and you sitting here, and if they didn't know what we were going to be talking about, they think they're going to see, a cowboy and a biker start talking some bullshit, and then when they start talking, we have liberal viewpoints. So, see what this comment says. GG by the Sea says that freaking Alex Jones said after the ruling today, this must be what hell feels like. No soulless coward losing a child is what hell feels like, not to mention the additional pain Jones inflicted. That's
I was going to ask you about that. Because, you were talking about you've had to deal with school shutdowns and things like that. One of the fathers after the trial was talking about how his experience has been that, Alex Jones followers are off the rails. And he was in a parking lot and a guy recognized him because Alex Jones kept putting their pictures up and calling them liars,
Mm-hmm.
And this guy believed Alex Jones.
Yeah.
So he walks up to him. This man lost his son in Sandy Hook, then had a man walk up to him and start screaming vile crap at him that he'd heard on Alex Jones.
Yeah.
I would have ended up, I don't mean to talk shit, Brando, but I know myself, and I know that I am the greatest guy in the world you want to be around. And then I've got this thing scares the hell out of my wife, because I mean I've got this thing where I'll hug you, I'll drink with you, I'll try to calm you down, and then you will hit the wrong button, and I snap, and am unrecognizable at all. My volume level goes to the point where I've actually had entire, I was at a Beto rally the other day, and they were trying to get donations, and people were all like passing on the envelopes, and it pissed me off. I turned around and I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Hey!" And the entire place froze solid, turned around, and all eyes were on me. I was like, "Where are my ride or die Democrats at?" My voice when I'm angry will go next freaking level, man.
Yeah.
And you get to that point where you don't feel. So they could take a swing at you and it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I was that guy's dad, man, how do you walk away from that?
I don't think.
How do you not just put this guy through a window or something? I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a laid back dude, man. And I have, when some people's come at me with stuff before, I'm always kind of surprised that they're coming at me. So I'll sit and try to hear it out. But that's one of those things that I don't think anybody can restrain themselves from. And there was actually a couple, I can't remember their names, but they were Alex Jones listeners that was, going out here. I think they have their own YouTube channel, maybe. But they were going out here just harassing people like that, walking up to random people. Hey, that was a hoax. That didn't really happen. Your kid isn't dead. And I'm like, man, what? I mean, I'm like you. I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, I know how nervous I've been just during a lockdown at my kid's school. And I can't imagine trying to go to the grocery store or go out to eat and have some maniac run up your face and start saying that about your kid that passed away. I'm a laid back dude, but I believe I'd end up in jail myself, man, because that's something that would be too hard to take. And these people, I mean, I feel for them. A lot of them stood there and took it, and I'm like, man. I mean, these people actually made it their mission. Like, hey, we're out here, we're trying to expose this, and I'm like, it's one thing to have an opinion on something, but to go to the people who suffered such a loss, that's where, like I said before, you can have whatever crazy beliefs you want to have and believe in whatever, but when you start taking it out on victims of, children, it's just crazy. It truly is.
That was worth $1 billion. That was worth $1 billion. What he did wrong, I believe entertainers can there's a line, there's a line. Entertainers can be, I mean, look at old Sam Kinison, used to scream in people's faces and shit like that. But man, there was no hate there. You know what I mean? No. You weren't trying to hurt somebody, No. And what was that old guy back in like the 70s and early 80s? He used to do that comedy show. He ended up on that show Taxi as the mechanic. Can't remember his name, man. But his whole he was
Andy
who?
Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
His show, he was the biggest dick in the world, man.
Yeah.
He really was. He would piss audiences off so bad. He would come to stand-up night. I remember watching early versions of shit. I'm tongue-tied. Come on, man. Oh man, Rodney Dangerfield. Loved Rodney Dangerfield, and he used to go to all the. He was an old gangster. I don't know if you knew that. I mean, he was like a real gangster, but he used to hang out at the comedy clubs when he was working his way up. And he said, "Man, if Andy Kaufman walked in, they would give him the mic because he was Andy Kaufman, and I would go home because the audience wasn't worth a shit after listening to Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
You couldn't make them laugh with it. Like he used to call it a fart whistle, but he had a thing that he'd walk around and do that duck fart thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, you couldn't make people laugh with a fart whistle after Andy Kaufman was on the stage.
Yeah.
But he didn't, man, this wasn't a shtick.
Yeah,
This was hurting people.
I know, and Kaufman did the whole thing, with Jerry Lawler, the wrestling angle, where he went down to Memphis and got up and wrestled the women, and to the point that he got Lawler pissed off, and Lawler gave him the pile driver, and then he pretended like he broke his neck. It was all a shtick, it was all, and they were working on this. They were working the crowd. They came out years later and admitted the whole thing was a big work, and they were working the crowd for the joke. But here we are now, man, where I've always felt like guys like Alex Jones and a lot of these right-wing news media hosts like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, they are like an old bad guy wrestler cutting a promo. It's like they're out here, they're cutting a promo, they're trying to work the crowd up. There used to be a guy in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was a wrestler named Ron Wright. And Ron Wright would go out in front of an audience and just get the shit kicked out of him. Somebody would come along and just beat the crap out of Ron Wright down at the Chilhowee Park. They would just beat the crap out of him. He would show back up the next week on TV, and he would be like, they would say, "Boy, Ron, you sure took an ass whooping down at Chilhowee Park last week." And he'd go, "I didn't take no ass whooping. I don't know what camera you was watching, but that wasn't me. That guy never laid a hand on me. I put East Tennessee dog whooping on that boy." And everybody's like, "No, Ron, you're full of shit. You got whipped. You got pinned 1, 2, 3. I didn't get pinned. And that was wrestling. That was entertainment. And people around Knoxville loved that guy. But we're seeing this shit play out now in real life with politicians and real life with these people who were saying to Trump, "Hey, Trump, you're getting your ass kicked. You got your ass kicked last week." And he said, "Nope, it's fake news." It's like watching an old bad guy wrestler, but now it's come to life. And here we are,
And they're dangerous.
And they're dangerous, yeah, because, they're, and a guy like Alex Jones, too, I started this earlier, when he was in court, he finally came out and admitted that, "Hey, my show's entertainment," because they were literally thinking about taking his kids away from him. And so he said, "Hey, what I do, the Alex Jones on the air, that's a character, and I'm entertaining an audience, and that's not who I am off the camera." Well,
but what does it mean if you're really working people up and you're
exactly.
really hurting people? What does it mean if you're pretending?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is too, he can go back on his show after admitting that he's an entertainer, that he's conning everybody. He can go back on his show and play the conspiracy theory angle by saying, "See, I had to say that because they were coming after my family. They were going to hurt my children, so I had to tell that in order to get them off my back." So the conspiracy theory crowd, they've always got the mysterious they. They've always got that they can point to and say it's their fault. And any logic we bring out, any evidence, any facts we point to them, they can say, "Well, that's like my buddy I worked with was like, well, but there's stuff they don't want you to know. I know what they don't want you to know." That's one of the things they love to say. And that's a gimmick that a person like Alex Jones can ride forever, because no matter what he has to face, like this here, he'll come out and say, "Well, this is what hell feels like. They are coming after me, and they can come after you." And watch and see if he doesn't say that next. He'll be saying, "If they can do this to me, they can do this to you." And gullible people out there, man, buys this stuff. They believe into it, and they actually believe now that the mysterious they is coming after them too.
Yeah. Hey, is that better, guys? I turned my gain way down on my mic. Do I kind of get a thumbs up? Is that better? They were telling me I was too loud there, Brando.
Okay.
Am I all good, guys? Is this better? They're talking about the weather. They're not even paying attention to us. Oh, anyways, man. Hey, I got something else for you. I wanted to show you. This made me laugh. I mean, I laughed so hard about this because I have never in my life been able to stand Yeezy, old Kanye West.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I laughed so hard. The guy's a billionaire. I mean, so many idiots bought his shoes. But JP Morgan Chase said, "You can take your billionaire money and get the hell out," after those anti-Semitic comments he made about going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Yeezy's all out in the cold now.
Man, it's a strange time to be alive, Paul, because we have seen conservatives give up watching football altogether. They hate sports now, and they're loving Kanye West. Like, what happened with that? I thought that's one thing that both sides had in common, is that none of us like Kanye West, and it's and now they have adopted him. It's like, how does that happen?
Oh man, he kissed the right ass, man. That's
I
what
guess
it
I
was all
guess
about.
so.
He told them they were great. You know, that's what the whole MAGA movement's about. I keep trying to explain this to people. It's not complex. You know that old saying LBJ had when he was president?
Yeah.
If you tell the lowest white man that he is better than the highest black man, you don't have to pick his pockets. He'll turn his
Mhm.
pockets out for you.
Exactly.
That's all MAGA is. And then
It
it's
is.
not just the racism. Of course, they bring in the racism, but
Mhm.
it's that whole thing you were talking about earlier about how we let them turn liberal into a dirty word. We let them turn Democrat into a dirty word, and
Mhm.
we screwed the pooch on that, man. We
Yeah,
didn't fight
we
back,
did.
and that's all they're selling. You
Mhm.
know, all these people going to MAGA rallies. The only reason they're there is to be told they're better than us
Yeah.
and feel better about themselves just a little bit. You know, these are the same people that nobody can stand to be around. They're the same people trying to get books banned at schools and
Yeah.
bullshit like that. And nobody wants to listen to their conspiracy theory bullshit. But for, an hour, they can go pay $50 to get into a Trump rally and wave their hats with all the actors that got hired. Did you see that one? That
No.
last Phoenix rally? They
No.
hired
I saw
500
a
actors.
couple of clips from it.
Yeah, they hired 500 actors for that rally.
Wow.
That was sad because there wasn't much more than 500 people there.
And it is. You're right. If they could make themselves feel better about things, and like, again, going back to the conspiracy theory angle, is they don't have to challenge their thinking very much to buy into that. It's a cop out. It's a way to just automatically avoid any accountability and not be able to accept things for what they are. I mean, it's just it's I'm kind of tongue tied at the moment, but this crowd, they want to be told that they're right about everything, and they want to be praised. And if they go to a Trump rally, they know they're going to get that, and he's going to blame everyone else for the problems they're having. I saw a thing a while ago that said, what these MAGA Republicans do, they will create a crisis, and they will talk about the crisis. They will blame Democrats for the crisis, and then they'll bring no new ideas to the table to fix it, and they'll vote for things that started the problem to start with. It's a continuous circle. It's kind of the old straw man argument. And we let them do it. We let them get away with it, but they will build us up to be all these things, and then they tear us down, and in doing so, make themselves feel better about themselves. But I think that's why
Yeah,
that one thing we need to do is continue to point out what it is that liberals and progressives have got done, our accomplishments. That's why I think we lay back on the ropes too long and let them punch away to the point that they've created this narrative now, like you said, that liberal and Democrats dirty word, and they don't trust people like us, and so they put their trust in people like Alex Jones because
yeah,
he's telling
because
them
I
what they
mean,
want to hear.
it is amazing. I worked as a salesman uh, in a couple different jobs earlier on as a younger man. Sold windows commercially. Worked for Dell for a while. Like that was something. That was an interesting experience working for Dell. But man, if you can make somebody feel good,
Yeah.
they will buy anything from you.
Oh yeah.
They will buy anything from you if you can just make them feel good. And that's one thing you have got to give these nutballs in the MAGA movement
Hmm.
is have you ever heard them? First they tell them I'm great,
Hmm.
and then they tell them you're great,
Hmm.
and then they tell them, but those bastards back there in the press pen, those
Yeah.
sons of bitches won't tell the world you're great. They
Yeah.
talk bad about me, they talk bad about you, and they
Exactly.
won't tell the world the truth about us and how wonderful we are. And man, I tell you what, these people, you think that nobody had said a kind word to them in their entire life. They are just like
Yeah.
floating by the time they leave there.
Yeah.
It is amazing to watch.
Yeah.
It
It
is
really is.
amazing to watch. Hey, do you got time to talk about that original subject we were thinking about? You got any of that?
Yeah, it kind of plays in with what we've been talking about. How was talking about how that they allowed we allowed them to make the words liberal and Democrats a dirty word. Something else that happened is the Republican Party over the years hijacked Christianity, and now they use that as to their advantage for their political gain. And here we see the headline you pulled up: some Christian pro-family groups face reckoning over praise for Putin. I mean, that's where we're at now. We got Franklin Graham with Vladimir Putin, but one thing I was going to talk about tonight is if you go back to Richard Nixon, if you go back that far with when he started the Southern Strategy, it was a way to how are we going to get white voters in the South to vote for Republicans, because back then the South was predominantly a Democratic part of the world. The South voted Democrat, and it's like, how can we
the
win?
solid South.
Yeah, and how can we win over? So they started making it about race. They started the party started shifting, and they began talking about the morals, the values, that they were the Christian and the God-fearing people. Because down here in the South, and I'm sure it's the same in Texas as it is here in Tennessee, we're brought up, we're took to church from the time we're little kids. We're taught to believe in God. We're told to be proud of our country, to be patriotic. All of us have, family members who are, I had a grandfather that was in World War II, uncle that was in the Korean War, uncle that was in Vietnam. You're taught to, respect the veterans and the flag and believe in God. You're taught to believe all those things. Well, when politicians like Nixon, starts the Southern Strategy, they began shaping it that God was on their side. Then you move on forward. You got Ronald Reagan with the moral majority. It began to pick up more steam. You're seeing Ronald Reagan palling around with Jerry Falwell and stuff like that. Pat Robertson. The 700 Club starts becoming more and more political. And then you come on up to like the year, I think around 9/11. Right after 9/11 with George W. Bush, and then the emergent, Fox News rising up. Over time, man, ever since, I think, going all the way back to Nixon in the 70s, but it just kept getting faster and faster. They managed to convince the rest of the country that they're God-fearing people, that they have God on their side, and that they're the party of morals and values. But if you look at their voting records, they've never done anything to help anyone. There's nothing Christian about them. It's all a stage prop. The whole thing has become a stage prop. And the one thing I've always tried to point out to people is this. You take a guy like Jimmy Carter. Look at Jimmy Carter and what a good man he is. To this day, he's still working to help people. He's still a true Christian. But yet they will turn around and demonize a guy like that. They will demonize a guy like Jimmy Carter and turn around and embrace someone like Donald Trump. I remember back, and I know I'm kind of all over the place at the moment, but I remember back when Clinton was president and we had the whole, Monica Lewinsky thing. I remember preachers in my part of the world saying, we don't need an immoral man like that. We need a God-fearing man, one with morals and one with values. And then they turn around and embrace Donald Trump. It's like, I used to think, well, surely they won't go lower, but they do, because again, as long as you make them feel good about themselves and make them think, because at the end of the day, Paul, people around here, they don't want to say anything against religion. They don't want to say anything against the church. I've had people, when I've been talking about, someone like Franklin Graham or someone like Joel Osteen, I've had people say to me, be careful what you say about a preacher. And I'm like, why? Like, I'm talking about what this person has done. And if you do believe in the Bible, I've always pointed this out too. If you really believe that the Bible is the Word of God, well, there's all sorts of scripture in the New Testament where Jesus is warning of false prophets, where he's warning of people that will do things in his name. So it's the whole thing puzzles me. I'm puzzled by the whole thing because I did grow up in church, and I was, I've read the Bible, studied it my entire life, and I'm reading the book going, you guys are cherry picking this thing to death to fit your own agenda and fit your own narrative, and that's another thing that they turned liberal into a dirty word, and somehow they hijacked Christianity, and they demonized really good people that were trying to help others.
Yeah, and and it's not just the Jerry Falwells or the I grew up in a Catholic family, and so I kind of keep track of what's going on in the Catholic Church, and the head of the Catholic Church in America right now is a guy by the name of Lovato. Nobody's ever heard of him because he's a very, very quiet man. He does not say much, but he's got his mouthpiece. It's Cardinal Dolan. I don't know if the name rings a bell with you, but he's the one that they send out on all the talk shows and all that crap like that. And man, the Catholic Church is telling people to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, are you a one issue church? Really?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, bud, but I know most Democrats are doing the hard work to keep people from having to have abortions because they're trying to give people good jobs and
Yeah.
contraception and teach people how to use it. I swear to God, I talked to a doctor not too long ago, and I was at he's just a family doctor. He's not a OBGYN or anything like that, but um, he had a patient come in with her boyfriend, and they asked her because she was having female problems. She wasn't having her period, and she was having some discomfort and things like that. And he started asking her questions. And was like, "Do you use birth control?" "Oh yeah, every time, every time." The boyfriend and his roommate were sharing condoms. And I don't mean new ones. I mean used ones
Wow.
because they didn't know any better.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, you have got to be. And he's like, no, hand to God, hand to God. There are people out there because we were talking about that we were talking about the subject of sex education in schools and why it's important and why you can't leave it to parents because parents won't teach kids. They won't
Yeah.
have these conversations.
They won't.
I
You're
mean,
right.
you got kids. I've
Yeah.
got kids. That's a rough conversation to have, man, especially with your little girl, man. You
Yeah.
you don't want to be,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? I
Yeah.
just sucked that one up and I was like, my little girl is not going to end up knocked up. So let me tell you about how this works, okay?
Yeah.
I was you got to know this and don't ever trust nobody. Don't trust anybody else birth control. You have your own. You need money,
Yeah.
you come see me. We will get you hooked up.
Yeah.
Because I don't want abortions.
Exactly.
You don't want abortions.
No.
Nobody wants abortions,
Yeah.
but we're
And
willing
see,
to do the work.
yeah, and that's one of the things, and I'm right in the, I say it all the time, I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt where I live. And it really is, people around here will say things to the nature of, well, at least I'm not for Biden, he's for killing babies. They'll go that route with it. It really is a one issue thing with a lot of people around here. They go to that issue and they don't really have an understanding of how we see it. They look at it that we're, and I'm not trying to make light of this situation, but they look at it like that me and you, Paul, are just in favor of killing babies. That's actually how they phrase it. They say it that way, like that me and you is just perfectly okay with that happening, and that's not the case at all. You know, it's it's interesting now that ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, I've actually heard a lot of people now starting to kind of backtrack a little and go, "Well, I don't know if they should have took it all together." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. I mean, you let this. I used to think honestly, I was naive, but I used to think years ago that this would be an issue that the Republicans just used to gain votes. I didn't think they were actually
Me
going to go
too,
for it.
for the longest
I
time.
have to admit they completely blindsided me with that one. I used to tell people all the time, I was like, oh, it'll always be legal, it'll always be around. It's just something they use as a wedge issue to get people to vote for them. And I think for a long time it was, but going back to like we was talking earlier with the conspiracy theory crowd, it's like one day we woke up and everything they were saying was real and they meant it, and they meant to take it away. And I think what we need to do on our side is we need to quit letting them have control of the ball and control the narrative and the story, because we're not over here advocating for killing babies. I've never met a Democrat that was, and that's something that I've said that a lot. I'm in a band, and my bandmates are all liberal-minded people. When we get together after rehearsal, we're sitting around talking. We'll talk about current events, stuff. We all have different opinions on how we could fix things or do things. We're all open-minded people with different opinions. And I've never walked into one of my rehearsals and after it was over, had a Democrat say, "Hey, I can't wait to just go out here and kill a baby today." They paint us that way. They paint us that way, and we're not. That we're reasonable people with open minds, and we're not all following after the same leader. That's another thing. You got, I think the whole conspiracy theory and them hijacking Christianity plays hand in hand here, because they follow Trump, and no matter what Trump says, they stick with him. I have a feeling that if Joe Biden said to me and you, hey guys, attack the White House, me and you would go, wait a minute, Joe, hold on. We would have a different point of view. But these people are right behind this guy, and they do it because
we'd be like, who do we call about this 25th Amendment thing? Because this son of a bitch lost his mind.
I know.
I just, and it's not just abortion either, man. They're so unchristian about everything. Man,
Yeah.
have you ever brushed up anywhere in your life against addiction?
Oh yeah.
So you know how difficult it is for people to get to handle, to deal with, and Miss Texas Paul and I have had, we've helped a family member through it, and it is nightmarish. If you've never dealt with addiction, you don't know. And then the other night on Sean Hannity, he thought this was a flex.
Yeah.
He got a hold of a voicemail. You heard about that, where he got a hold of Biden's voicemail, where Biden told his son, I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer to this is. You don't know what the answer to this is, but we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And if you've ever dealt with, that's all you can do, because you never, day to day, you got to take it one day at a time. You never know from day to day what the challenges are going to be. And every addict is different.
Yeah.
Every substance that is different. To have a dad like that, man, that's what every addict wants and needs,
Yeah.
And here's old Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
Trying to badmouth, I guess, Hunter Biden for being an addict.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind too, because not only did he beat an addiction, but he went on to be more successful than all the Trump kids combined. I don't know if you know that, but Rosemont Seneca has made Hunter Biden a billionaire. I mean, that guy is rolling in it. He is super rich. And they don't talk about that because I don't know. I guess it looks bad, but the president's son is super rich, but he has done more on his own. I mean, hell, the charity he was running won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
He ran the charity up to like 2017 or something like that, and then stepped down, and then another guy moved in, and then that year, for all the work they'd done previously while he was running the charity, they won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they, I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty damn Christian.
Yeah.
Charity,
Yeah.
But no, man, they hate this guy.
Well, they do.
And again, I asked you, I don't know what they're getting out of it.
I don't either. I did actually, my latest video that I did for Midas Touch was about that very clip you're talking about, with him talking to Hunter. And that's actually an older clip. I've heard it before. But, I myself, Paul, I battled addiction myself. I battled alcohol, and I abused benzos for a while back 10 years ago. I actually did it. I went to rehab in 2012. That was when I finally hit the wall. But for about 7 years, man, I was completely messed up. I was completely out in another world, and got really. It was one of those things that just kept like Merle Haggard would say, like rolling downhill like a snowball headed for hell. It just kept building as I went. And when I finally did slam into the wall, I ended up spending over a week in a rehabilitation center. And I can tell you, when you slam into that wall and you hit it rock bottom, it's like one of the coldest, loneliest feelings. Everything goes silent. And the only thing you have in your head is every mistake you ever made. It's just right there in front of you. It's all right around you. And where I went at the time, I wasn't allowed to have phone calls for a long time there. I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody on the outside. And I just remember sitting in there the whole time thinking, man, I'd love to hear my dad right now. I'd love to talk to my dad. I'd love to talk to my mom. I'd love to hear their voice right now more than ever. and I didn't even go outside. I had the opportunity to. They told me I was allowed to walk outside in the yard if I wanted to, but I was so in the moment that I just felt like the best thing for me to do was just stay inside and face it head on. So I didn't have any dealing with the outside world. And I just remember, getting out of that hospital. Of course, my mom and dad was there for me, and everything. But I remember checking my voice messages to see if I had any voice messages from the people that I thought were my friends. I didn't have one voice message to nowhere, And I remember thinking, it was like one of those just feelings of like, damn, I really thought these people were my friends, and turns out they were just people helping drag me down. And so when I hear that clip of Joe Biden talking to Hunter, that's probably what my mom and dad was wanting to say to me at that point. That's probably what they were hoping they could have said to me. And it's what they did say to me once they got me home, and it's like, we're going to work with you and help you stay ahead of this thing. So if their intentions, if Sean Hannity's intentions was to paint the Bidens as bad people, for that, it failed miserably with people like me, because I heard that and related to it. And it's one of those things where it made me go, hell yeah, I voted for Joe Biden. If he's a guy like that, they'll demonize him for having a speech impediment. They'll demonize him for stuttering. And I've told people this all the time. I'm like, my dad's 70-year-old. He stutters every time he talks. My dad forgets his keys, his wallet, his phone. He's always helped me find something. I've lost it. But I would rather have that old man in my corner. I would rather have that guy behind me than anybody I know. And when I heard Joe Biden talk like that to Hunter, I was like, I'm glad that old man's leading us. I'm glad he's up there. Is he perfect? No. Is my dad perfect? No. But to have somebody like that has compassion and empathy, like I said, they might have been trying to steer the ship in a different way and cause people to demonize the Bidens, but it made me. I had a completely different reaction to that one.
And he's a guy. If you want to just talk about it from the Christian aspect, he is a guy that lives it. Yeah. I mean, he twice a week he's going to mass. He would. Yeah. He talks about all the losses he had in his life and how he leaned on his faith, and you would think that would be exactly what an evangelical would want to hear, would want in a president, mm-hmm. But no, they're it's party over God. I mean, party over.
Yeah, it is. And they find ways to condone anything that they do. I actually had a family member one time say to me when I was pointing out, things about Trump that's not Christian at all. She points out to me and says, well, but, God called David and David was immoral. And they'll actually go into the Bible and find stories to condone. And I said to her, I said, well, you never said that about Bill Clinton. You never said that about a Democrat. If it's a Democrat doing something wrong, then we're just the devil himself.
Oh, yeah.
But they find ways to justify everything they do. And again, it goes right in with that conspiracy theory mindset. I think if you can embrace like Trump and people like Sean Hannity and Jerry Falwell and all these people, if you can put them in the same basket with Jesus Christ, then you can pretty much believe any conspiracy theory that anyone could throw at you. If you're that gullible that you would believe those people represent Jesus, and I've told people so many times, I'm like, I've read the Bible from cover to cover, studied it my whole life. There's not one verse of scripture that says that in the last days, there'll be a immoral billionaire come along that's an asshole to everybody and goes around saying all these terrible things, and he'll save Christianity. He will save it from the evil, liberals out there. There's no scripture of that. As a matter of fact, all it talks about is people that will come along in the last days and use Christianity for their political gain, and they will use it to deceive people, and they will use it to brainwash people, and Jesus then will have to return to the earth to take it back from the ones that have corrupted it. So my whole point has always been, if you really believe in this book and you believe it's the Word of God, then dive a little deeper into it, because it's pointing out a whole lot of stuff that points right over toward the people that are hijacking Christianity, right over toward the Trumps of the world, the Falwells, the Franklin Grahams. These people have used it for their own political gain. And if you are a Christian and believe in it, that should offend you more than anything. It should offend you more than anything that they've taken this. You're telling me that they're telling us, Paul, that this guy that this being loved us so much that he sent his only son to die for our sins. So we're going to let this guy come down here and die for our sins and turn around and embrace Donald Trump as a thank you to that guy. It's like
And
why?
if you
Why
want some
would you
cold
do that?
water, go back and listen to the tape on the bus before he got elected in
Yeah.
2016. The
Yeah.
way he talked about people.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's why. And I'm humble. I'm humble enough to know I don't know. That's why I don't I am not here. I will say this much. My mother and my mother and grandmother fought hard enough to earn their liberties that I in no way in hell can allow my daughters, my wife, my grandchildren to have less liberty than they did. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go backwards. I'll fight next to women, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell women about their health care. I'm not
Yeah.
here to tell them about my beliefs on abortion. I
Yeah.
am here to tell them I am fighting with you so that you can make your decisions and you can decide what's right between you and your doctor and your God. And I will be damned if I will let that Mango Mussolini fat ass fucker lead us down this road. It is not
Yeah.
going to happen. I'm sorry about the language, folks, but I am not doing it. I'm not letting Greg Abbott do it. And I tell people this one thing, and this is the God's honest truth. I'm not losing my democracy. I'm not losing these rights for women. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. What is going to happen, and the decision that Republicans need to make, is how bad does life get before they realize I'm not losing democracy. I'm not losing that right for women.
Yeah.
Because that's what it comes down to is no matter what you do, you may think you're winning this, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. We are never going to give you a minute's peace ever
Yeah.
until we have democracy secure, women's treated like first class citizens again. And I don't give a damn what the fight is or how bad it gets. I
Yeah.
really don't. We are not going back there. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, Brando, we've only got about 6 minutes left, man. You want to should we do the round table with the folks? They've been making some great comments. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been sitting down reading, listening to you talk. You just nailed it tonight, my brother.
Thanks,
I
man.
mean, it was a fantastic show. And
Yeah.
this is the way the round table works. If you haven't been here before, folks, the last usually 10 minutes, but we're a little bit short. We've only got 6 minutes. So I hope you brought some good questions with you. Any questions that you want Brando or I to answer, you throw them out at us. We'll pull them up on the screen and we'll go right at it. So come at us, folks. We'll chit chat for a few minutes and then we'll get at them.
Sounds good.
Brando, we need to start doing this a couple times a week, man. We keep saying that. When do you think we ought to do? We ought to.
We definitely need to, man, and we need to let everybody know out there to share it and let everybody know where they can hear it and see it at. Let them know we're out there, and we're here at the moment. We're here every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we hope I definitely want to get another show in. I really love doing it. It's actually it's therapeutic for me, man. It really is.
Yeah. We ought to ask the audience when they think another, maybe, when do y'all like to hear these shows? What is your best time? I'll throw a question at you since I haven't gotten a whole lot of questions popping up in comments. They're having a great conversation over there, man. I don't think they've heard a word we said, but they've been having a great time in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, Benny Loco, man, she is the best, dude.
Yeah.
She's the best. You ever see her over at Legal AF? She has always got the best comments.
Yeah.
Always. Oh, well, let me flip through a couple. Deidre's here. I love Deidre. I met her in Dallas. She is a neat person. I'm telling you, man. You need to come down here to Texas. We'll show you a good time.
I do, man.
We'll show you a good time.
I'd love to come back. I visited last year for the first time, but I loved it.
All right, let me find us some good questions. We got one request for Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Is that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or just Tuesday and Thursday?
Yeah.
Make Ben a loco a mod. I should do that. I really should. Ben a Loco's got her own show. We need to check that out, brother.
Yeah, we do.
We need to check that out. Thank you for sharing that with us. Friday best for me, she said. Carol says. Carol's badass too. Storm Virgil's here. Nobody's got a question. We're running out of time. We're down to 3 minutes. Throw us a question. All right, I'll do it. Are you wearing pants for this broadcast, Tennessee
Yes.
Brando?
I sure am.
Prove it.
Oh, well, here we go.
I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, I really do. I have.
Yeah, because I'm not.
I will admit, though, I have done Facebook Lives in my pajamas. You know, I've put a shirt on and been sitting here in my grandpa's slippers and my pajamas before. But now I've got my cargo army pants on today.
I went comfortable tonight, man. It's just me and my boxer briefs, man. That's it. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Hate to. Nobody needed to know that, but no, I'm just kidding. I got shorts on. I'm just kidding. My wife, I can hear my wife's feet coming down the hall. I'm kidding. Oh, good woman will keep you straight, man. She'll keep you in line. I love that old Johnny Cash song. I walk the line.
Yeah.
I sing that to her all the time. I do. I just wish I had your voice, brother.
Thanks, man.
Uh-oh. Benny's hooking you up.
Uh-oh. Yep.
What was the name of that one girl that was just crazy about you? Our first show? Couldn't believe it. Something KY. Wildcat KY something. Yeah, she was, boy. She man, she wanted to treat you like a popsicle, man. That was just getting whoo.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on there. Here we go. Got a good question. Just in time. Jane Fair, thank you very much. Question. Thoughts on Republicans' reaction to Herschel Walker?
You want to take this one?
We do a whole show on that one.
Oh,
you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Too late to pull him out. They tried to get him to not run. They told him not to run. He did it anyways. And now it's too far down the road. They can't get him off the ballot. Can't replace him. So they are doing the immoral thing. They're going all in on the guy, knowing he's a complete piece of shit. And that is, I can't think of a better analogy for what the Republican Party is today.
Yeah.
That's what I think of the Republican reaction to Herschel Walker. I think what about you, Brando?
Well, yeah, they're, like we said earlier, they're the conspiracy theory crowd. They're the crowd that tells us that Alex Jones is a better source of information than anybody else out there. And it doesn't matter who the candidate is, whether it's Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, I remember back when W left office. I remember like when he left office, I said to myself, well, okay. I was like, we'll never see a guy that stupid again. We'll never see nothing like that ever again. And I'd be damned if they didn't just open up the door and say, wait a minute, hold my beer, here you go. And now some of these people makes me kind of miss W. And I hate to say that, but there's times where I go, dang, like, but like you said, now they're just going full blown. They go all in, even when they know the ship is sinking. It's crazy. It's one of the craziest things to watch. And that's one of the things I tell people all the time. You know, the parties are not the same. We will throw our own. We will hold our own accountable where the rest won't.
This one's for you, Brando.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Watch him blush. Watch him blush. Oh, yeah. He is such a humble, human being. I love this. What? Look at him turning red. I mean, he is just glowing red. I love that about you, man. I love that about you, man. People look at you and they think, "Oh, well, here comes a hard ass." This, that, and you are the biggest teddy bear in the world. You are a sweetheart, man.
Well,
you really are.
I try to be.
You know?
I try to be.
Oh man, I love that. I didn't mean to be mean. I'm sorry, but you did.
No,
you
you're
turned
good.
bright red.
It's perfectly good. Thanks for the comment, and we've really enjoyed being with you.
Well, folks, I respect your time. I know your time is important. I value you being here. I really do. We are out of time. We've actually run over a little bit of time. It was so much fun, Brando. I had a great time tonight.
Me too.
I hope you did too. You killed it, brother. You killed it.
Thanks a lot,
folks,
man.
please keep an eye out. Brando and I will probably be announcing another show coming out. Let's try to add one more during the week, man. I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
Me too.
All right, so keep an eye out on what do you say we throw it out on Twitter?
Yeah, we will.
A lot of people are on Twitter. Let's throw it out on Twitter. We'll let you know when we're going to do an extra show this week. I so appreciate all of you coming. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful evening, Brando. It was fantastic.
Thanks,
Any
Paul.
last words on the way out the door?
Well, just thanks to everyone for listening and watching and tuning in. Be sure to let everybody know where we're at. We'll be here every Wednesday at 9 for sure, and we'll let you know when we got another show coming at you.
Evening, folks. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Put the word out about us because it's you folks that we rely on. I mean, we'll be glad to put on the show for you, but it's always you folks and y'all's word of mouth that brings people in. Thank you for subscribing there, Bicycle Mike. I sure appreciate you. It's free. Oh wait, that was the wrong one. That was Uncle Fatty. Uncle Fatty don't joke around. No, Uncle joke. That's the one I meant to pull up. Sorry. Uncle Fatty don't play, man. He really doesn't. He tells you exactly how he feels.
Yeah.
Subscribing, it doesn't mean you're going to get emails. It's not a pain in the ass for you at all. It just makes it easier for you to find us. It's completely free, but it means the world to us. The more subscribers we get, the more attention we get, the more YouTube distributes our show. So I appreciate you folks. Any of you that can hit that subscribe button, like buttons, any comments that you can make, I'm more than grateful. Y'all have a wonderful night. We're out.
All right.
Good to see you again, Brando.
Good to see you.
Pick a day. We'll do another show.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.